The fluorescent lights of the courthouse bathroom buzz overhead as Sarah Mitchell grips the cold porcelain sink, trying to steady herself. Her reflection stares back, pale and exhausted, one hand instinctively cradling the swell of her 7-month pregnant belly. Through the door, she can hear them laughing. Marcus. And her. Victoria Drake's high-pitched giggle echoes down the marble hallway like nails on a chalkboard. Sarah closes her eyes, remembering when Marcus used to laugh like that with her. 3 years ago he promised her forever. Now he's promising it to someone else while their unborn child kicks restlessly against Sarah's ribs. Sarah takes a deep breath and pushes through the bathroom door. She needs to be strong. Today's hearing will determine everything. Custody arrangements, child support, whether her baby will grow up knowing stability or chaos. Her attorney, Linda Chen, waits by the courtroom doors, her expression tight with concern. "Sarah, we need to talk strategy before," Linda starts, but she's cut off by the sound of expensive heels clicking against marble. Victoria Drake glides toward them like a predator who's already tasted blood. Her designer dress probably costs more than Sarah's monthly rent. Everything about Victoria screams money, from her perfectly highlighted hair to the tennis bracelet dangling from her wrist. Marcus's money. Money that should be securing Sarah's baby's future. Well, Victoria purrs, her eyes scanning Sarah's modest maternity dress with undisguised contempt. "I'm surprised you showed up. Don't you think it's time to accept reality? Marcus has moved on to better things." Sarah's jaw tightens, but she refuses to take the bait. "Not here. Not now." "Victoria, this is inappropriate." Linda steps forward, her voice sharp and professional. "You need to." "I need to what?" Victoria's smile turns venomous. "State the obvious. Look at her, counselor. Swollen ankles, cheap clothes, clinging to a man who doesn't want her anymore. It's pathetic." The words sting because part of Sarah wonders if they're true. She glances down at her body, transformed by pregnancy, and feels a flash of insecurity. But then the baby kicks, hard and insistent, and something fierce awakens in her chest. This isn't about her anymore. This is about protecting her child. "My client has nothing to say to you," Linda says firmly, taking Sarah's arm to guide her away. But Victoria isn't finished. She steps closer, invading Sarah's space, her perfume sickeningly sweet. "You know what the best part is? Marcus and I are trying for our own baby. A planned one. A wanted one. Not some anchor baby designed to trap a rich man." The accusation hits Sarah like a physical blow. Her pregnancy wasn't a trap. It was a celebration of love, or at least what she thought was love. She remembers the joy on Marcus's face when she told him how he'd spun her around their penthouse apartment, talking about nurseries and baby names. That Marcus feels like a stranger now. "Get away from my client," Linda warns, her phone already out, documenting the harassment. Sarah notices Marcus emerging from the courtroom across the hall, his expensive suit tailored to perfection, his attorney beside him looking smug. He sees the confrontation but makes no move to intervene. Instead, he smirks, checking his watch as if this is all just mildly entertaining. Something inside Sarah cracks. 3 years of gaslighting, of being told she was too sensitive, too emotional, too demanding. 3 years of watching him come home later and later, smelling like another woman's perfume while he accused her of being paranoid. "You want to know what's pathetic?" Sarah hears herself say, her voice stronger than she expected. "Building your happiness on someone else's pain." Victoria's eyes flash with rage. For a moment, Sarah sees something dangerous there, something unhinged. Then it happens so fast that Sarah barely processes it. Victoria lunges forward, and before anyone can react, her expensive heel connects with Sarah's pregnant stomach in a vicious kick. The pain explodes through Sarah's body like lightning. She gasps, doubling over, her hands frantically clutching her belly as she feels herself falling. Linda screams. Somewhere, Marcus shouts. But all Sarah can focus on is the baby. Please, God, let the baby be okay. She hits the marble floor hard, landing on her side. The impact knocks the breath from her lungs. Through the fog of pain and panic, she feels strong hands steadying her, security guards shouting, Victoria shrieking that it was an accident. Someone call 911. Linda's voice, frantic and commanding. Don't move her. Another voice, deeper, authoritative. Sarah's vision swims. She looks up through tears and sees a figure standing over her. A man in judicial robes, his face lined with age and wisdom. His eyes are green. The same shade of green that stares back at her from the mirror every morning. Judge Richard Thornton kneels beside her, his hand gentle on her shoulder. Medical is on the way. Try to stay calm. What's your name? Sarah, she manages through gritted teeth. Sarah Mitchell. Something flickers across his face. Recognition. Impossible. He doesn't know she exists. Her mother made sure of that 30 years ago when she walked away from him, pregnant and alone, choosing to protect his promising career over her own happiness. But Sarah has watched him from afar for years, attending his public hearings, studying his face, memorizing every detail. She knows the curve of his jaw, the way his brow furrows when he's thinking, the compassionate fairness he brings to every case. And now, as security restrains a screaming Victoria and paramedics rush through the courthouse doors, as Marcus stands frozen in shock at what his mistress has done, Sarah realizes something that makes her heart race for an entirely different reason. This case has just been assigned to Judge Thornton's courtroom. The man kneeling beside her, showing more concern than her own husband, is about to preside over the most important hearing of her life. He has no idea he's looking at his daughter. Where are you watching from today? Drop your city in the comments. I have a feeling this story is going to resonate with so many of you. The hospital room smells like antiseptic and fear. Sarah lies in the bed, monitors beeping steadily, showing her baby's heartbeat. Strong, resilient, alive. The relief that washed over her when the doctor confirmed no permanent damage was so intense she'd sobbed for 20 minutes straight. But relief is temporary. Reality is waiting outside this room. Linda Chen sits in the chair beside her bed, laptop open, her expression a mixture of fury and calculation. Victoria Drake just handed us the case on a silver platter. Assault on a pregnant woman in a courthouse, with dozens of witnesses including security footage. The DA is already talking about pressing charges. Sarah touches her belly gently. The baby kicks in response, and she allows herself a small smile. What about Marcus? He's claiming he had no idea Victoria would do something like this. His lawyers are already working overtime to distance him from her actions. Linda's voice drips with disgust. But here's the interesting part. I've been digging into Victoria's background. Sarah sits up slightly, wincing at the soreness in her ribs. And she's not who she pretends to be. The designer clothes, the jewelry, the lifestyle? All funded by Marcus. Before she met him, Victoria Drake was Victoria Delgado, a woman with a history of targeting wealthy men. She has 2 restraining orders from previous relationships, both involving married men, both ending with harassment charges. The information settles over Sarah like armor. Marcus doesn't know. Men like Marcus don't look too deeply when they're being flattered by a beautiful woman. Linda pulls up a file on her laptop. But there's more. Your case has been officially assigned. Judge Richard Thornton is presiding. Sarah's heart stutters. She knew it was coming, but hearing it confirmed makes everything real. Her father. The man who shares her DNA but not her history. The man whose integrity and fairness are legendary in the legal community. Sarah. Linda notices her reaction. You know him. The words catch in Sarah's throat. She's kept this secret for so long, carried it like a stone in her chest. But maybe it's time. Maybe Linda needs to know. He's my biological father. The silence that follows is deafening. Linda slowly closes her laptop, her expression shifting from confusion to shock to understanding. Explain. Sarah takes a deep breath and tells the story she's never spoken aloud to anyone. Her mother's confession when Sarah was 17, delivered on her deathbed with tears and regret. How her mother had been a young law student, brilliant and ambitious, who fell in love with a young attorney named Richard Thornton. How the pregnancy had terrified him, threatened his career trajectory, his family's expectations. She never told him, Sarah says, her voice barely above a whisper. She dropped out of law school, moved across the state, raised me alone. She wanted to protect his future, even at the cost of her own. And you've known all this time? Linda's voice is gentle but incredulous. I found his name in her journals after she died. I was 19. I researched him, found out he'd become a judge, everything she'd wanted for him. I've been to dozens of his hearings over the years, just watching from the gallery. He has my eyes, Linda. The same green eyes. The same stubborn chin. Have you ever thought about telling him? Sarah laughs bitterly. What would I say? Hi, I'm the daughter you never knew existed, the one your career was built on abandoning? He made his choice 30 years ago. That's not fair, Linda says softly. He didn't know about you. Your mother made that choice for both of them. To protect him. Maybe. Or maybe she was protecting herself from rejection. Linda leans forward. Sarah, this changes everything. You need to recuse him from the case. No. The word comes out sharp and immediate. Sarah. No, Sarah repeats, stronger now. Think about it. Judge Thornton is known for being fair, thorough, and absolutely intolerant of injustice. Victoria assaulted me in his courthouse. Marcus has been using his money to bully me for months. If anyone can see through their games, it's him. But the conflict of interest. There is no conflict. He doesn't know I'm his daughter. And I'm not going to tell him. Sarah's mind is racing now, pieces clicking together. Linda, what if this is exactly what's supposed to happen? My mother spent her whole life protecting him. Maybe it's time he protected me, even if he doesn't know why. Linda studies her for a long moment. You're playing a dangerous game. They started it when they kicked a pregnant woman. Sarah's voice hardens. I'm just going to finish it. A knock on the door interrupts them. A nurse enters with a small envelope. This was just delivered for you, Ms. Mitchell. Sarah takes it with trembling fingers. Inside is a handwritten note on courthouse stationery. Ms. Mitchell, I want to personally assure you that what happened in my courthouse today will be thoroughly addressed. No one should ever feel unsafe seeking justice. Your case will be heard with the full weight of the law behind it. Please focus on your recovery and your baby's health. Justice will wait for you to be ready. Judge Richard Thornton. Tears blur Sarah's vision. The handwriting is strong and precise, just like everything else about him. He doesn't know her, but he's already protecting her, just like a father should. There's something else, Linda says, pulling Sarah's attention back. I've been contacted by an investigator. She says she has information about Marcus that could be game-changing. His business dealings aren't as clean as they appear. There's evidence of fraud, embezzlement from his own investors. How did she get this information? She used to work for Marcus's company. She was fired 6 months ago when she started asking too many questions. She's been building a case ever since, waiting for the right moment. Linda's smile turns predatory. I think watching him flaunt his mistress while his pregnant wife suffers gave her that moment. Sarah feels something shift inside her. For months, she's been the victim, the abandoned wife, the woman everyone pitied. But she's not just that. She's the daughter of a judge who built his career on justice. She's the mother of a child who deserves better. She's a woman with allies, resources, and a righteous fury that's been building for far too long. Set up a meeting with the investigator, Sarah says. I want to know everything. Sarah, if we go down this road. They kicked my baby, Linda. In a courthouse. In front of God and everyone. They think I'm weak because I loved wrong. They think I'm defeated because I'm alone. Sarah's voice grows stronger with each word. But I'm not alone. And I'm done being weak. Linda nods slowly, respect dawning in her eyes. All right. Let's burn their world down. Through the hospital window, the sun is setting over the city, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. Sarah watches it, one hand on her belly, and feels her baby move. A fighter, the doctor had said. Just like her mother. Sarah thinks about her own mother, who sacrificed everything to protect a man who never knew. She thinks about Judge Thornton, who writes compassionate notes to victims. She thinks about the baby growing inside her, who deserves a mother that fights back. The old Sarah would have accepted defeat quietly, would have taken whatever scraps Marcus's lawyers threw her way and disappeared into a life of struggle and silence. But that Sarah died on the courthouse floor. The woman rising from this hospital bed is someone new. Someone dangerous. Before we continue with this incredible journey, I spent countless hours researching and crafting this story to bring you something truly meaningful. If stories like this touch your heart and you want to see more, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. It means the world to me and helps these important stories reach others who need to hear them. Now, let's see what happens next. 2 weeks later, Sarah walks into the courthouse with her head held high. The bruises have faded, but the fire in her eyes burns brighter than ever. Linda walks beside her, briefcase in hand, looking like a warrior heading into battle. Behind them, Michelle Torres, the investigator who used to work for Marcus, carries a box of documents that will change everything. The preliminary hearing is supposed to be routine. Marcus's lawyers expect to steamroll through it, painting Sarah as an unstable gold digger while positioning their client as the victim of entrapment. They have no idea what's coming. Judge Thornton's courtroom is exactly as Sarah remembers from the time she sat anonymously in the gallery. Dark wood paneling, high ceilings, the seal of justice prominent on the wall. But now she's not a spectator. She's the main event. Marcus sits at the defendant's table, his confidence unshaken despite Victoria's assault charges. He barely glances at Sarah, as if she's beneath his notice. Victoria isn't here. Her attorney advised her to stay away after the incident, but her presence haunts the room like toxic perfume. Judge Thornton enters, and the bailiff calls the room to order. Sarah studies him carefully, searching for traces of herself in his features. There, the way his eyebrows arch when he's thinking. The slight tilt of his head as he reviews documents. Her mother's journals describe these mannerisms with such love and detail that seeing them in person feels like reading a familiar story in a new language. This preliminary hearing concerns the divorce proceedings of Wellington versus Mitchell. Judge Thornton begins, his voice measured and authoritative. Given the recent incident involving assault, I want to make something clear. This courtroom is a place of civil discourse and legal resolution. Any further misconduct will result in severe consequences. His eyes meet Sarah's for just a moment, and she sees something there. Concern. Protection. She looks away quickly, afraid of what her own eyes might reveal. Marcus's lead attorney, Gerald Blackwood, stands. He's everything Sarah has come to despise: expensive suit, practiced smile, the kind of man who believes money can buy any verdict. Your Honor, my client is eager to resolve this matter fairly and expeditiously. Despite recent unfortunate events, Mr. Wellington remains committed to his financial responsibilities. How generous, Judge Thornton says dryly. Ms. Chen, your opening statement? Linda stands, and Sarah recognizes the look on her face. It's the same expression a chess master wears before delivering checkmate. Your Honor, what we have here isn't a simple divorce. It's a pattern of financial abuse, emotional manipulation, and calculated cruelty. And we have evidence to prove all of it. Blackwood laughs dismissively. Your Honor, Ms. Chen is engaging in theatrics. This is a straightforward dissolution of marriage. Then you won't mind if we present our evidence, Linda interrupts smoothly. She nods to Michelle, who begins distributing documents. Your Honor, we have financial records showing that Mr. Wellington has been systematically hiding assets, transferring money to offshore accounts, and fraudulently undervaluing his real estate holdings to minimize child support obligations. Sarah watches Marcus's face carefully. The first crack appears, a slight tightening around his eyes. He leans toward Blackwood, whispering urgently. But Linda isn't finished. Furthermore, we have evidence that Mr. Wellington has been embezzling from his own investors, using company funds to finance his extramarital lifestyle. The SEC has been investigating these activities for the past 8 months. Now Marcus goes pale. Blackwood shoots to his feet. Your Honor, these are baseless accusations. Are they? Judge Thornton's voice cuts through the protest like a blade. He's reading the documents, his expression growing darker with each page. These are bank statements, transfer records, communication logs. Ms. Chen, where did you obtain this information? Through completely legal channels, Your Honor. Ms. Torres worked in Mr. Wellington's accounting department until she was wrongfully terminated for questioning irregular financial practices. She's been cooperating with federal investigators. The courtroom seems to shrink around Marcus. Sarah watches him squirm, watches the carefully constructed facade begin to crumble. This is the man who called her paranoid when she questioned his late nights. The man who made her feel crazy for noticing money disappearing from their accounts. Your Honor, Linda continues, moving in for the kill. We also have documentation regarding Victoria Drake, Mr. Wellington's current paramour. Ms. Drake has a documented history of targeting wealthy married men. She has 2 previous relationships that ended in restraining orders after she became violent and demanding. Objection. Blackwood is sweating now. Ms. Drake is not on trial here. No, but her character is relevant when she assaulted my client in this very courthouse, Linda shoots back. And when we're discussing Mr. Wellington's judgment and fitness as a parent. He's chosen to bring an unstable, violent woman into his life while his child is about to be born. Judge Thornton sets down the documents, his jaw tight. Mr. Wellington, do you have a response to these allegations? Marcus stands, trying to reclaim his composure. Your Honor, this is clearly a smear campaign. My soon-to-be ex-wife is desperate and vindictive. Watch yourself, Judge Thornton warns, his voice ice-cold. The woman you're referring to was assaulted by your girlfriend in my courthouse while 7 months pregnant. I suggest you choose your next words very carefully. The rebuke hangs in the air like thunder. Sarah feels tears prick her eyes, but these aren't tears of sadness. They're tears of validation, of being defended, of having someone powerful finally see the truth. Marcus swallows hard. I had no knowledge of any financial irregularities. If there were issues in my company's accounting, they would have been handled by Ms. Torres. Linda suggests sweetly. The woman you fired when she started asking questions? How convenient. Your Honor, we need time to review these allegations, Blackwood pleads, abandoning his earlier confidence. I'm sure you do. Judge Thornton leans back in his chair, his expression unreadable. Here's what's going to happen. This preliminary hearing is now extended to a full evidentiary hearing. Mr. Wellington, you are ordered to provide complete financial disclosure, and I mean complete, within 72 hours. Any attempt to hide, transfer, or otherwise manipulate assets will result in sanctions and potential criminal referral. Your Honor, Blackwood tries to protest. I'm not finished. The judge's voice could freeze fire. Regarding child support and spousal maintenance, I'm issuing a temporary order. Mr. Wellington, you will immediately begin paying $15,000 per month in support, retroactive to the date of separation. Marcus's face turns red. That's excessive. I have expenses. You have a pregnant wife you abandoned for a woman who committed assault. Your expenses are not my concern. Your child's welfare is. Judge Thornton's eyes bore into Marcus. And let me be absolutely clear. If you or anyone associated with you approaches, contacts, or in any way harasses Ms. Mitchell outside this courtroom, you will face contempt charges and possible jail time. Sarah feels Linda's hand squeeze hers under the table. This is better than they hoped. Judge Thornton isn't just being fair, he's being protective. Fiercely so. Furthermore, The judge continues, regarding Ms. Drake. If she wishes to have any involvement in these proceedings, she needs to answer for her actions first. I'm recommending the DA pursue assault charges to the fullest extent. The courtroom spins with activity as Blackwood tries to salvage the situation, as court clerks note orders, as Marcus sits in stunned silence. But Sarah only watches Judge Thornton, this man who is her father in every biological sense but knows nothing of their connection. He's fighting for her, without knowing why, just because it's right. As the hearing concludes and people begin filing out, Judge Thornton calls out, "Ms. Mitchell, a moment please." Sarah's heart stops. Linda squeezes her hand again before stepping away to give them privacy. Sarah approaches the bench on shaky legs, very aware that they're alone in the courtroom now except for the bailiff standing discreetly by the door. "How are you feeling?" he asks, his voice gentler than it was during the proceedings. "And the baby?" "We're okay," Sarah manages. "Thank you for everything today." He studies her face, and Sarah sees confusion flicker across his features. "Have we met before? Outside of the incident, I mean. You seem familiar somehow." Sarah's breath catches. This is the moment. She could tell him, should tell him, but the words won't come. "I don't think so, Your Honor. Maybe I just have one of those faces." He doesn't look convinced, but he nods slowly. "Well, I want you to know that you're safe here. Whatever happens in these proceedings, the law will protect you and your child. That's a promise." "Thank you," Sarah whispers, tears spilling down her cheeks now. "That means more than you know." As she walks away, she feels his eyes on her back. He's trying to place her, she realizes. Some part of him recognizes the connection even if his conscious mind hasn't caught up yet. Outside the courtroom, Marcus corners her in the hallway, Blackwood trying unsuccessfully to hold him back. "You think you're so smart," he hisses. "You think you've won?" "I think you underestimated me," Sarah says calmly, though her heart is racing. "That was your first mistake. This isn't over. I'll fight you on every single thing. I'll drag this out for years. I'll make sure you get nothing." Sarah steps closer, close enough that only he can hear her next words. "Go ahead and try. Because every time you do, you'll be fighting him." She nods back toward the courtroom. "And something tells me Judge Thornton doesn't lose often." The security guard approaches, having noticed the confrontation. Marcus backs away, but not before Sarah sees the fear in his eyes. He's finally realized what he's up against. If this story has moved you, if you're rooting for Sarah the way I am, please hit that subscribe button. Stay with us. Sarah's fight is far from over, and what happens next will leave you speechless. The next 3 weeks are a whirlwind of legal maneuvering and escalating tension. Marcus's financial records reveal even deeper corruption than anyone suspected. His real estate empire is built on fraud, kickbacks, and stolen investor money. The SEC investigation expands. The DA starts building a criminal case. But Marcus Wellington isn't going down without a fight. Sarah is in her small apartment. She'd moved out of the penthouse months ago, sorting through baby clothes when her phone rings. It's Linda, and something in her voice makes Sarah's blood run cold. "Sarah, we have a problem. A big one." "What happened?" "Marcus's team just filed a motion claiming you're mentally unstable and unfit for custody. They're bringing in a psychiatrist who's going to testify that you have a history of depression and anxiety, that you're a danger to yourself and the baby." Sarah sinks onto the couch, one hand protectively over her belly. "That's insane. I've never." "They're twisting the truth. Remember those therapy sessions after your mother died? When you were 19. They've subpoenaed those records. And they're claiming your recent erratic behavior, their words, shows a pattern of instability." "What erratic behavior?" "Allegedly, you've been seen at multiple court hearings over the years, watching proceedings without explanation. They're painting you as obsessive unstable. They're even suggesting you targeted Marcus deliberately. The irony would be funny if it weren't so terrifying. Those court hearings were to watch Judge Thornton, her father. But she can't explain that without revealing the truth. And revealing the truth would force his recusal, would put her case in another judge's hands. Someone who might not fight for her the way he has. There's more, Linda continues, her voice heavy. Victoria is claiming that you attacked her first, that her kick was self-defense. She has a witness who's willing to testify to that version of events. That's a lie. There were dozens of people. Her witness is a security guard who Marcus's company employs for their corporate buildings. He's on their payroll, Sarah. And he's willing to commit perjury. Sarah feels her world tilting. Everything they've built, every advantage they've gained, it's all crumbling. Can they really do this? They're desperate, which makes them dangerous. The criminal charges against Marcus are serious. He's facing prison time. People like him don't go quietly. Linda pauses. There's something else. Michelle Torres, our investigator? She was in a car accident yesterday. Sarah's stomach drops. Is she okay? She'll live, but she's in the ICU. The police are calling it an accident, brake failure. But Sarah, Michelle called me an hour before it happened. She said she felt like she was being followed. The room spins. Sarah grips the phone tighter. You think Marcus. I think desperate people do desperate things. And I think we need to be very careful. After Linda hangs up, Sarah sits in the growing darkness of her apartment, feeling the baby kick and roll inside her. For the first time since this began, genuine fear takes hold. Marcus has money, connections, and nothing to lose. She has the truth, but what good is truth against someone willing to destroy it? Her phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Drop the charges and the custody fight. Take the settlement we offer, or things get worse. Sarah's hands shake. She should call Linda. Should call the police. Should do something official and by the book. Instead, she finds herself driving across the city in the dark, pulled by an instinct she doesn't fully understand. She ends up outside a modest two-story house in a quiet suburban neighborhood. Judge Richard Thornton's address, found years ago during her private investigation into her father's life. She's never approached it before, never crossed this line. But tonight, with fear clawing at her throat and her baby's future hanging in the balance, she needs. What? To see him. To tell him the truth? To ask for help that she has no right to ask for? The lights are on inside. Through the window, she sees him sitting at a desk, working late as he apparently always does. He's taken off his judicial robe and wears a simple sweater. Reading glasses perch on his nose. He looks tired. Human. Like a father working late to provide for his family. Except his family doesn't know he exists. Sarah's about to leave when the front door opens. Judge Thornton stands there in the porch light. His expression a mixture of surprise and concern. Ms. Mitchell? Is everything all right? She freezes, caught. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be here. This was a mistake. Are you in danger? He steps onto the porch, his voice sharp with worry. Has someone threatened you? The tears come before Sarah can stop them. All the stress, the fear, the loneliness of fighting this battle while growing a life inside her. It all breaks open. I don't know what to do. They're going to take my baby. They're going to win because they have money and power and I have nothing. That's not true. Judge Thornton moves closer but maintains professional distance. You have the law. You have truth on your side. Truth doesn't stop car accidents, Sarah says before she can think better of it. Truth doesn't stop false witnesses or manipulated evidence or, she stops, realizing she's saying too much. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have come here. This is completely inappropriate. Probably, he agrees, but there's kindness in his eyes. But you're here now and you're clearly terrified. Come inside. Let me make you some tea and you can tell me what's happened. I can't. The case is going to be decided on facts and law, not whether you sat in my kitchen for 20 minutes. He holds the door open. Please. I'm not just a judge. I'm a father. And no father wants to see a pregnant woman standing on his porch in tears. The word father nearly breaks her. Sarah follows him inside, into a home that's warm and lived in. Photos line the walls. Children, grandchildren, moments of a life fully lived. A life her mother chose to let him have. My wife passed away 4 years ago, Judge Thornton says, noticing her looking at the photos. Those are our children and grandchildren. They keep me young. Or try to. He gestures to the kitchen table. Sit. You look exhausted. As he makes tea, Sarah studies him. Up close, the resemblance is even more striking. The shape of his hands matches hers. The way he moves, precise and purposeful. Genetic echoes she's never been able to escape. Now, he says, setting a mug in front of her. Tell me what's happened. And before you worry, anything you say here stays here. Consider this, off the record. Sarah takes a shaky breath and tells him everything. The threatening text. Michelle's accident. The new motions claiming she's unstable. The witness willing to lie. She watches his expression darken with each revelation. They're trying to intimidate you, he says finally. It's a classic tactic when the facts aren't on their side. They want you scared enough to settle. It's working. Is it? He looks at her intently. Because you're still here. You haven't given up. You drove across the city not to run away, but to fight back. I drove here because... Sarah stops. Because why? Because she needed her father even though he doesn't know he is? I don't know why I came here. Judge Thornton is quiet for a long moment, studying her face. You remind me of someone, he says softly. I've been trying to place it since I first saw you in that courthouse. The way you hold yourself. Your eyes especially. They're the exact shade of... He stops, something shifting in his expression. What was your mother's name? Sarah's heart stops. This is it. The moment where everything changes. She could lie. Should lie. But she's so tired of carrying this secret alone. Eleanor, she whispers. Eleanor Mitchell. Though her name was Eleanor Richards when she knew you. The color drains from Judge Thornton's face. The mug in his hand trembles, and he sets it down carefully on the table. Eleanor Richards. Law school. 30 years ago. His voice is barely audible. Oh my God. She died when I was 19, Sarah continues, the words tumbling out now that the dam has broken. Cancer. Before she died, she told me about you. About the baby she never told you about because she didn't want to ruin your career. She loved you enough to disappear. Judge Thornton stands abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. He walks to the window, his back to her, shoulders shaking. I looked for her, he says finally. After graduation. She'd just vanished. I thought she'd moved on, found someone better. I never knew. His voice breaks. I have a daughter. You have a daughter who's about to lose everything, Sarah says, tears streaming down her face. And I know this is impossible and unfair and wrong, but I didn't know where else to go. He turns to face her, his own eyes wet with tears. 30 years of missed moments hang between them. First steps, graduations, birthdays, all the moments fathers and daughters share. You have to recuse yourself from my case, Sarah says, though it kills her to say it. This changes everything. You can't. No. The word is firm, definitive. Judge Thornton wipes his eyes and straightens his shoulders. No, I won't. But the conflict of interest. What conflict? He moves back to the table, sits down, and takes her hands in his. I didn't know you were my daughter when I took the case. I've made my rulings based solely on the facts and the law. That doesn't change just because I now know the truth. But, Sarah, her name on his lips for the first time makes them both pause. I've spent 30 years not knowing I had a child. I've missed your entire life. I will not, I cannot, step aside now and watch another judge potentially fail you when I can do what I should have done from the beginning. Protect you. That's not justice. That's bias. Justice, he says firmly, is giving everyone a fair hearing. Justice is not allowing money and power to crush the vulnerable. I've been fair to Marcus Wellington despite the fact that he abandoned my daughter and let his mistress assault her while pregnant with my grandchild. I think I've shown remarkable restraint. Sarah laughs through her tears. You can't make rulings based on being my father. I won't. His grip on her hands tightens. I'll make them based on the law, on the evidence, on what's right. But I won't recuse myself. And here's why. Marcus Wellington and his team don't know about this connection. They're planning their strategy assuming I'm just another judge. But what they don't realize is that I'm now a judge who has a very personal interest in making sure this case is handled with absolute integrity. That sounds like using every legal tool at my disposal to ensure justice is served? Yes. That's exactly what it is. He releases her hands and sits back. But you need to know something, Sarah. From this moment forward, I have to be harder on you in court. More critical of your positions. I need to be beyond reproach to protect us both. I understand. And you can't come here again. Not until this is over. We can't give them any ammunition. I know. Sarah stands to leave, but Judge Thornton stops her. Sarah, I want you to know, your mother was right to protect me. I was young and stupid and terrified of disappointing my family. But she was wrong to think I wouldn't have chosen differently if I'd known. I would have chosen you. Both of you. Always. The words unlock something in Sarah's heart that's been frozen for years. She allows herself one moment, one brief embrace with the father she's never known. He holds her carefully, like she's precious and fragile. We're going to win this, he whispers. And when we do, I want to be in my grandchild's life. If you'll let me. I'd like that, Sarah manages. As she drives home, her phone buzzes with another text from the unknown number. Last chance. Drop it or lose everything. Sarah doesn't respond. Instead, she forwards it to Linda with a simple message. Let them try. I'm done being afraid. Because she isn't alone anymore. She has an army of her own now. Linda, Michelle recovering in the hospital, and a judge who just discovered he has everything to fight for. If this story is hitting you the way I think it will, you're going to want to subscribe because what happens next will blow your mind. But first, tell us in the comment section where you're watching from. We would love to know our beautiful souls around the world are standing with Sarah right now. The final hearing arrives on a crisp autumn morning. Sarah is 38 weeks pregnant now, her belly impossibly round, the baby so active she can barely sleep. Linda wanted to request a postponement, but Sarah refused. She's done waiting. Done being afraid. It's time to end this. The courtroom is packed. Word has spread about the case. The assault, the corruption, the dramatic revelations. Local news cameras wait outside, hoping for a statement. Inside, Marcus sits with his legal team, his confidence restored by the false witness and manipulated psychiatric evaluation. He actually smirks when Sarah walks in, as if he's already won. Victoria is here too, against her attorney's advice. She's dressed demurely, playing the victim role, her eyes downcast. But when she glances at Sarah, there's pure venom in her gaze. Judge Thornton enters, and the room falls silent. He looks exactly as he always does. Composed, authoritative, fair. Nothing in his demeanor suggests that his world has been turned upside down, that he discovered he has a daughter and grandchild at stake in this very case. He's protecting them both by being the judge he's always been. Let's proceed, he says calmly. Mr. Blackwood, I understand you have motions regarding custody and Ms. Mitchell's fitness as a parent? Blackwood stands, practically radiating smugness. Your Honor, we have compelling evidence that Ms. Mitchell is not only mentally unstable but is engaged in stalking behavior and delusional thinking that makes her a danger to the unborn child. Sarah feels Linda's hand squeeze hers under the table. They knew this was coming. We have testimony from Dr. Raymond Phillips, a respected psychiatrist, who has reviewed Ms. Mitchell's therapy records and concluded she suffers from obsessive-compulsive tendencies, depression, and possible delusional disorder. Has Dr. Phillips actually examined Ms. Mitchell? Judge Thornton asks. He's reviewed her extensive records. That's not what I asked. Has he examined her? Blackwood hesitates. Not directly, but the records are from sessions when she was a grieving 19-year-old who had just lost her mother. Judge Thornton's voice is sharp. I've read them too, Mr. Blackwood. They show a young woman processing normal grief with appropriate professional help. Unless you have evidence of recent psychological impairment, this motion is remarkably thin. We also have evidence of stalking behavior, Blackwood continues, fumbling slightly. Ms. Mitchell has attended numerous court hearings over the years with no clear purpose. She's been observed watching proceedings, taking notes, behavior consistent with obsessive fixation. Sarah's heart pounds. This is the dangerous ground. She can't explain those hearings without revealing the truth about Judge Thornton. But before she can speak, Judge Thornton says, "Are you suggesting that attending public court hearings is evidence of mental illness, Mr. Blackwood? Because I have many regular observers in my courtroom. Should I have them all evaluated?" "These hearings weren't random, Your Honor." She specifically attended hearings in my courtroom, Judge Thornton finishes. "Yes, I'm aware. I reviewed the sign-in logs." Ms. Mitchell also attended hearings in 3 other courtrooms. She visited Judge Martinez's courtroom 14 times, Judge Chen's courtroom 9 times. Should we question her sanity for trying to educate herself about the legal system while going through a difficult divorce? It's a perfect deflection, technically true while hiding the deeper connection. Sarah sees Blackwood's confidence waver. What about the witness testimony regarding the assault? Blackwood pivots. Officer James Turner will testify that he saw Ms. Mitchell initiate the physical confrontation with Ms. Drake. Officer Turner. Judge Thornton's voice could cut glass. The security officer who happens to be employed by Wellington Properties? That Officer Turner. His employment doesn't negate his testimony. Perhaps not. Let's hear it. Call your witness. Officer Turner takes the stand, sworn in, looking uncomfortable under Judge Thornton's gaze. Blackwood leads him through the testimony, how he supposedly saw Sarah lunge at Victoria, how Victoria kicked in self-defense, how Sarah's fall seemed exaggerated. It's a practiced lie, delivered smoothly. Sarah feels sick listening to it. Then Linda stands for cross-examination. Officer Turner, how long have you worked for Wellington Properties? 8 years. And how much does that job pay annually? Objection. Relevance. Blackwood starts. I'll allow it, Judge Thornton says. 60,000, Turner admits. That's quite a bit more than standard security guard wages. Isn't it? Linda pulls out a document. In fact, it's nearly double the industry average. Your Honor, I'd like to enter into evidence Officer Turner's employment contract, which shows he receives an annual bonus tied directly to Mr. Wellington's approval. Turner shifts in his seat. Officer Turner, Linda continues, can you explain why the courthouse security footage from that day contradicts your testimony? The color drains from Turner's face. What? The footage shows Ms. Mitchell standing still while Ms. Drake approached her aggressively. It shows Ms. Drake kicking Ms. Mitchell without any provocation. It shows you standing 30 feet away with your back turned when the incident occurred. I must have misremembered. You lied under oath. Judge Thornton's voice booms through the courtroom. Bailiff, take Officer Turner into custody. He'll be facing perjury charges. The courtroom erupts. Marcus goes pale. Blackwood frantically tries to salvage the situation. But it's over, and everyone knows it. Your Honor, Linda says calmly as order is restored. We have additional evidence we'd like to present. Michelle Torres, who unfortunately cannot be here due to being hospitalized after a suspicious accident, has provided video testimony. A screen lights up, showing Michelle in her hospital bed, bruised but alive. Her testimony is devastating. Detailed evidence of Marcus's embezzlement, his threats against employees who questioned his practices, his pattern of financial abuse. She names names, provides documents, builds a case so airtight that even Blackwood stops objecting. Then the final blow. We've also received cooperation from the FBI, Linda announces. They've been investigating Mr. Wellington's real estate schemes for money laundering. He's facing federal charges. Your Honor, we're asking that Mr. Wellington be remanded into custody immediately. Marcus shoots to his feet. This is insane. You can't. Sit down, Mr. Wellington. Judge Thornton's voice is steel. You've lied to this court. You've hidden assets, committed fraud, and conspired to present false testimony. The only question now is how many laws you've broken. You're biased, Marcus shouts, desperation making him reckless. You've been against me from the start. I've been fair, Judge Thornton interrupts, his voice dangerously quiet. I've given you every opportunity to present your case honestly. You chose deception instead. That's on you. Federal agents enter the courtroom. Marcus's face crumbles as he realizes what's happening. They read him his rights while Blackwood watches helplessly, knowing his career just went up in flames. Victoria tries to slip out, but Judge Thornton stops her. Ms. Drake, don't leave. You're facing assault charges, remember? And now we can add conspiracy to commit perjury. As officers escort Victoria away in handcuffs, she locks eyes with Sarah one last time. The smug superiority is gone, replaced by disbelief and rage. She thought her beauty and manipulation would protect her. She was wrong. When the courtroom finally clears, only Sarah, Linda, and Judge Thornton remain. He looks at them both, his professional mask slipping for just a moment to reveal the emotion underneath. Ms. Chen, you did excellent work, he says formally. Your client should be proud. She should be proud of herself, Linda corrects gently. Sarah never gave up. Judge Thornton's eyes meet Sarah's. I'll be issuing my final ruling within the week. But I think you know how it will read. Full custody, comprehensive child support from Mr. Wellington's seized assets, and a restraining order preventing him or Ms. Drake from any contact with you or your child. Thank you, Your Honor, Sarah manages, trying to maintain professional distance even though she wants to hug him. One more thing. He pulls an envelope from his robes. This is my contact information. Personal, not professional. After the case is officially closed and all appeals are exhausted, I'd like to know my grandchild. Sarah takes the envelope with shaking hands. I'd like that too. 3 months later, Sarah rocks her daughter in the nursery of her new home, purchased with the settlement from Marcus's seized assets. Emma Rose, named for her grandmother Eleanor, sleeps peacefully, unaware of the battle that was fought before her birth. There's a soft knock at the door. Judge Thornton, Richard as she's learning to call him, stands there with a stuffed giraffe and an uncertain smile. Is this a good time? It's a perfect time. Sarah gestures him in. Come meet your granddaughter. He approaches carefully, reverence in every movement. When he looks down at Emma, tears fill his eyes. She has your mother's nose, he whispers. I remember it exactly. Would you like to hold her? Richard takes Emma with the careful expertise of a man who raised his own children. The baby settles against him immediately, as if she knows she's safe. Hello, little one, he murmurs. I'm your grandfather. I know I'm late to the party, but I promise I'm here now. For all of it. Sarah watches them together. 3 generations finally united. Her phone buzzes with a news alert. Marcus Wellington sentenced to 12 years in federal prison for fraud and embezzlement. Victoria Drake received 2 years for assault and perjury. Justice, Sarah thinks. Real justice. You know what the beautiful thing is? Richard says, still gazing at Emma. Your mother protected me all those years ago, made a sacrifice she thought was necessary. But in the end, it brought us all here. To this moment. She gave me a career that let me give you justice when you needed it most. She'd like that symmetry, Sarah agrees. I wish I could thank her. You just did. Sarah points to Emma. This little girl gets to grow up knowing her grandfather. That's all my mother wanted. For me to have what she couldn't give me. You. Michelle Torres visits the following week, still using a cane but healing. I had to see how you were doing, she says, accepting tea in Sarah's cozy living room. The woman who inspired me to finally do the right thing. You're the hero in this story, Sarah insists. Without your evidence, without your courage to fight back, my evidence would have sat in a box forever. Michelle smiles. I'm testifying in 3 more cases against wealthy men who thought they were untouchable. Turns out, watching you win gave a lot of people hope. The local news runs a special feature, Justice Served. How one woman's courage brought down a real estate empire. This was never about fame. It was about protecting her child and finding her father. Mission accomplished. On Emma's first birthday, Sarah hosts a small party. Linda comes with her family. Michelle brings a ridiculously oversized teddy bear. And Richard arrives with his other children, Sarah's half-siblings, who welcomed her with open arms and overflowing curiosity about their new sister. As Sarah watches her daughter take her first wobbly steps, surrounded by family she never knew she had, she thinks about the courthouse bathroom where this journey began. The terrified woman gripping that sink is gone. In her place stands someone stronger, braver, more complete. "Make a wish, sweet girl," Sarah tells Emma as they bring out the birthday cake. But Sarah doesn't need wishes anymore. She has everything she fought for. Her daughter, her father, her justice, and her purpose. Marcus Wellington sits in a federal prison, his empire dismantled, his name ruined. Victoria Drake works in a prison laundry, her beauty and manipulation worthless behind bars. And Sarah built a life from the ashes of her pain, transforming her suffering into purpose. As the party winds down and Emma falls asleep in Richard's arms, he looks at Sarah with wonder. "You know what amazes me? How strong you are. You survived betrayal, fought impossible odds, and won." "I had good genes," Sarah teases gently. "Someone taught me that justice is worth fighting for, even if he didn't know he was teaching me." Richard laughs, the sound warm and full. "Your mother raised you right. I just wish." "Don't." Sarah stops him gently. "No more wishes about the past. We have now. We have Emma. We have each other. That's everything." And it is. Sometimes justice takes time. Sometimes it takes courage. Sometimes it takes a secret connection between a judge and the daughter he never knew he had. But it comes. It always comes for those brave enough to fight for it. Sarah looks at her daughter sleeping peacefully, at her father cradling his granddaughter with such love, at the family and friends filling her home with laughter and light. This is what victory looks like. Not revenge. Not bitterness. But healing, connection, and hope. The millionaire who thought money made him untouchable learned that some things can't be bought. Integrity, justice, and the fierce love of a mother protecting her child. The mistress who thought cruelty would go unpunished learned that actions have consequences, even for the beautiful and bold. And the abandoned wife who once trembled in a courthouse bathroom? She learned she was never really alone. She had her mother's strength, her father's sense of justice, and her own unbreakable will. She learned that sometimes the darkest moments are just before the dawn. And when that dawn comes, it's glorious. Thank you for taking this incredible journey with Sarah. Please subscribe to see more stories of triumph over adversity. And in the comments below, tell me, what part of Sarah's journey resonated most with you? Was it her courage, her father's discovery, or the sweet victory of justice served? I read every comment, and your stories inspire the content I create. Remember, you're not alone in your struggles. There's always hope. There's always a way forward. And there's always justice waiting for those brave enough to claim it. Until next time, stay strong, stay hopeful, and never stop fighting for what's right.